Growing up in North Carolina, my concept of Italian cooking was very limited. You fell into one of two categories: pizza, things on top of bread, or spaghetti, meat pasta sauce. Ravioli, square spaghetti. Lasagna, stacked spaghetti. Hamburger helper, box spaghetti. So you can imagine the surprise on my face when I went to my first Italian restaurant and ordered spaghetti, and these motherfuckers brought me noodles. From that point on, my entire world was flipped upside down. So for those of you who are unclassy like me and called everything you saw under the sun spaghetti, here is my recipe for fancy spaghetti, aka Bolognese sauce, with a fresh homemade pasta. We're gonna do the whole thing together. It's gonna be delicious. And I can't wait for the chorus of Italian cooks who have wonderful positive things to say about my version of Bolognese. Before anything else, we need to start with a Mirepoix, and getting all this prep out the way earlier makes it easier to get drunk later. 2 stalks of celery, finely diced, 2 medium carrots, peeled and diced, and 1 whole yellow onion diced. With a good dosage of olive oil in our Dutch oven over medium heat, we're going to add a pound of 80/20 ground beef and a pound of ground pork. I was able to find some that was already blended, but it's okay if you have to buy both separately. Get your meat nice and browned up, remove from the Dutch oven, and throw a half a pound of pancetta into the pot. I actually, for the longest time, have never liked pancetta until recently when I discovered that I was buying uncured pancetta all this time. I picked up some cured pancetta, which was only available in these thin slices at the market that I was at, and man, what a difference in flavor it was. So make sure you're reading that packaging when you're picking it up. Cook the pancetta until the fat begins to render and we get that sexy smelling grease coming out. We can toss in our vegetables until they begin to soften, and after they've softened and you'll notice the color of the vegetables begin to fade, when it's ready, we'll add 1/4 cup of a good tomato paste and mix that around and let the paste begin to caramelize, about 2 minutes. Now we can bring in today's pour choice, which is wine. Again, surprise, right? A nice dry wine like this Sauvignon Blanc I'm using is a great way to deglaze this pot because we want to scrape up all those brown bits off the bottom of our Dutch oven. That is delicious flavor, aka fond. Let this simmer away until the wine is almost completely evaporated. Once evaporated, add your brown ground meats back in and mix. Add in 4 cups of chicken stock, and this is a good time to really either make your own chicken stock or buy really good premium chicken stock because this is going to bring so much flavor and is a great foundation. After mixing, add a cup of whole milk, a bay leaf, a Parmesan cheese rind if you have any laying around. Mine literally slipped out of my hand into the pot, so that decision was made for me. And a decent grating of fresh nutmeg. You can absolutely simmer this on a stovetop, but I'm taking the suggestions of some other YouTube cooks and I'm putting it into a 300-degree oven for anywhere between 3 and 4 hours. Now it's pasta time. Honestly, whenever I do this, I use my KitchenAid stand mixer while I sit back and enjoy a glass of wine, but maybe you don't have one yet. So we're going to do this granny style today. Prepare for a nice workout, but having fresh pasta is such an amazing experience, especially in a dish like this. I've got 2 cups of flour, and this is actually a blend of all-purpose flour and semolina flour. You can absolutely use 2 cups of just all-purpose flour, but I like the texture and color the semolina flour gives the pasta. Next, we'll create a little well in the middle of our flour, and I haven't perfected this yet, hence why I usually use my stand mixer. So don't feel bad when your mound eventually crumbles. That being because we're going to crack in 3 whole eggs and begin beating them while flicking parts of our flour mountain into the swirling storm of egg. Use a bench scraper to try and keep everything together, but at some point you may say screw it and just use your hands. Totally fine. Begin squeezing the mixture until the dough begins to form. If the mixture still feels wet, add a little bit of the flour from your work surface until it begins to take shape. You won't really need all 2 cups of flour, but it's good to have it there to help keep things from sticking and to make adjustments. There are a ton of pasta ratio recipes out there, so experiment and see which one works for you. This is just a simple starter one that can feed about 4 servings of pasta. Once the dough has formed, it's time to knead for about 8 to 10 minutes. Again, a stand mixer would be amazing. I've also seen this done in a food processor, but I have not tried that method yet. I'm using this technique for my kneading, folding corners of the dough into itself and mashing it in. After 10 minutes, form a nice ball. If you poke it and it springs back, you are all set. Wrap it in some plastic wrap tightly and let it rest for at least 30 minutes at room temperature. And yes, plastic wrap. Don't try to be putting it in aluminum foil or just in a Tupperware container as I did the first few times I made this because it will absolutely dry out. Now it's time to cheat. You can use a rolling pin for this entire process as I have before, but instead I have a $20 pasta roller that I got from Amazon. Flour your work surface and get your dough out. Cut the dough in half. Keep the plastic wrap on the half that you're not using. Throw some flour on top of it and on your rolling pin and roll out that dough. Thin enough to begin going through the widest setting on your pasta roller. Also, don't forget to throw a little flour in the pasta roller as well to keep things from sticking and tearing. We're going to roll it through once and then fold the ends into itself and roll again with our rolling pin and once again through our pasta roller machine. Still on its widest setting, of course. I did it 2 times, but maybe you want to do it 3 to 4 times. It's up to you. I hope all this is making sense because now we're going to start rolling our pasta through the machine, slowly lowering the width of our rolls with each pass. At some point you may need to cut it in half to manage it, but we want to roll it through until we've reached the thinnest setting. Using my bench scraper, I'm just squaring off my sheets of pasta to look all pretty, and then I'm going to fold them like an accordion, and using a knife, I'll begin cutting 1/2 inch wide slices. Lay the pieces out, throw a little flour on it, and place it on a floured sheet and continue to do the same with the rest of the pasta. We'll let these hang out until our Bolognese is ready, which just in time it is. I skinned off any fat from the top of the Bolognese sauce, removed the bay leaf and gave it a mix. Next, I added a good dosage of Parmesan cheese, fresh black pepper, and salt. You need to add a little taste and adjust. I like mine on the cheesier side, so I was adding lots of Parmesan cheese. And while you're adjusting the seasoning, it's a great time to get a pot of salted boiling water going. Now, you may need to make some room here. I've got my Dutch oven off to the side and a pan over medium heat. I'm going to scoop in a couple mouthfuls of our Bolognese sauce into our pan and then drop our fresh pasta noodles into the water. We're trying to get all this to finish at the same time. The pasta is only going to need about 2 minutes to cook. That's the beauty of fresh pasta. And of course, we want to finish it in our sauce. So 2 minutes in, we'll take our pasta and a little bit of pasta water too. That's very valuable stuff right there. And place it in our pan with our Bolognese sauce and continue to cook it for about 1 more minute. Just getting everything coated and having it come together, you may need to add a little bit more Bolognese sauce, so feel free to add it and swirl around. And that's it. Plated. Add some more Parmesan cheese, maybe some basil leaves or some parsley, whatever you want. It's your Bolognese sauce. Don't let the comment section on YouTube tell you that you're wrong, because at the end of the day, it's what you want to eat. I actually would add some diced up smoked sausage sometimes because I like the meats. I hope you all enjoy your holidays and enjoy this meal because it'll probably be the last fat ass meal I make for a few weeks. The new year's approaching and it's time to make promises we want to break, eating healthier. Poor Choices Kitchen, everybody, enjoy.